So today I am here to talk to you about, at a whiskey festival, drinking less while still drinking.
My job is to introduce our guests and get out of the way. Chris Blatner, the urban bourbonist.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Kentucky Bourbon Fest, day one. We're about, an hour in at this point? All right. Well, thanks for coming out. You know, you guys are the first ever, I'm the first ever speaker, but you're the first ever audience for this. Yes, give yourselves a round of applause, right? Yes. You have an opportunity here to be the best audience ever. First audience ever. So my name again is Chris Blatner. I run an Instagram page that is called Urban Bourbonist. So if you have an Instagram account and you're not following me, give me a follow. Today we're going to be drinking a cocktail that I created for this talk. It's called the Cherry Harvest, and it is utilizing the Pursuit Spirits Double Oaked Rye, which is a brand new spirit from Pursuit Spirits. If you want to hang on to just a little bit of it, I'm going to get to it a little bit later in the talk. You can drink it now, but just hang on to a little bit of it, and we'll talk about that cocktail in a little bit. So today I am here to talk to you about, at a whiskey festival, drinking less while still drinking. Okay? This is an important topic, I think. So let me start off by asking you to raise your hand if you have ever woken up in the morning and said, I am never drinking again. Has anyone ever woken up and said that? I'm pretty sure if you didn't raise your hand, you might be fibbing a little bit. So, but what if that didn't have to be the thing that you said when you woke up in the morning after a night of drinking or enjoying cocktails, because you started to enjoy and learn how to enjoy this hobby and this thing that we do in a different way. And that is drinking less while still drinking. So as everyone here is probably very, very aware, there is a real shift happening right now in the world of spirits and with attitudes towards drinking alcohol and the way that we all approach alcohol with, what we're putting into our bodies, whether it's food, exercise, alcohol. And we have an entire generation of people coming up, Generation Z, that is considering not drinking at all or is drinking very, very little. So this is definitely something that is happening within this industry. We have the growing popularity of things like Dry January, Sober October, No Drink November. Name the month, there's some sort of non-drinking holiday associated with it at this point. But what I think is interesting is that the shift doesn't have to be about cutting alcohol out of your life completely. It can be this mindful drinking and finding a way to be thoughtful, intentional, and finding balance. And it's about asking yourself, how can I enjoy this drink while I still am taking care of myself? And the answer, again, does not have to be abstinence. Sometimes it's as simple as learning to drink less, but just drink better. And when we drink mindfully, we're savoring all of these moments, like here today that we're all together at this festival with friends. We're celebrating occasions, but we're doing it in a way that kind of prioritizes our overall well-being. It's about moderation. And trust me, moderation is way better than a hangover the next day. Am I right? Can I get a cheers for no hangovers? Right. So let me tell you guys a 6-word story. Are you guys familiar with this concept of 6-word stories? That's like a big thing these days. So here's my 6-word story. During the pandemic, I drank substantially. Anyone else have that 6-word story out in this crowd? Yeah, I think so. It's a common thing, I think, amongst a lot of us over these past few years. And I figured, I kind of felt like garbage during that time at certain points. And one, it was a global pandemic. Not cool. Global pandemic's not cool. And then the other was that I was drinking a lot. Now, I wasn't dependent upon alcohol, but I did drink more during that period of my life, probably at any time other than like college. And I didn't really love how that was making me feel. I did like everything that went along with the drinking during that period of time. Hanging out with friends, even though it was on Zoom, still having those conversations, talking about whiskey and really diving deep into this hobby. And I didn't want to give that up. So that's when I discovered a thing called session cocktails. Anyone want to ask the obvious question? What's a session cocktail? So a session cocktail that you have in your hand right now. It's a lower ABV cocktail. It's typically 10% alcohol or less, and it typically utilizes 3/4 of an ounce of the base spirit or less to make the cocktail. So it is a way to embrace this idea of drinking less while still drinking, okay? So the concept originally came from, you may have heard of session beers. So this concept came from the world of beer. They're low alcohol beers that you can drink over the course of an afternoon while you're mowing the lawn, hanging out in the garage with your friends, and you're not going to feel the effects of the alcohol over that period of time that you're drinking. So this same idea now applies to cocktails. Session cocktails matter as a tool in your tool belt to enjoy multiple drinks without the heavy effects of alcohol. This is especially important, in this whiskey culture. And I'm not a prude telling you not to drink. I'm just saying we could all probably stand from time to time to drink a little bit less. And by lowering the ABV of a session cocktail, it lets us sip and savor and appreciate the complexity of our whiskey without getting knocked off our feet after 2 drinks, right? So think of it this way. Instead of rushing through the experience of drinking, session cocktails allow you to kind of slow things down. It's about enjoying each moment, enjoying each sip without that race to intoxication. And that's why they're, again, this important tool for all of us, for anyone that wants to drink less, but still enjoy this ritual that we all love to do together, drinking and talking about whiskey, and still allow you to enjoy that flavor. So instead of switching to something like all of these endless seltzers that are out there, you walk into a store, there's 100 different options for seltzers, we still get to drink our first love, whiskey. Right? And we still get to support this industry, and we still get to support our friends like Pursuit Spirits and support what they're doing. We're not completely giving up on whiskey. We're just using it in a different way. So when I bring up this topic with people a lot of times, and I say session cocktail, and I explain that that's a lower ABV cocktail, one of the first things I hear is, well, you're just diluting the experience of drinking whiskey. I only drink my whiskey neat. And I mean, we are literally diluting the whiskey by creating a session cocktail. But we're not necessarily losing all of that richness and complexity that makes whiskey so special. The truth really is that session cocktails will allow the whiskey to shine, but you have to think about it in a different way. It allows the whiskey to shine in a different way. So we all know whiskey is an incredibly versatile spirit. In a session cocktail, it can still be the backbone of the cocktail, but it's going to bring flavor, it's going to bring depth, and it's going to bring warmth to the drink. But the beauty of a session cocktail, a lower ABV cocktail, is that it also allows some of these other flavors to take center stage. So using things like citrus, herbs, juices, teas, and spices that can work in balance with the whiskey to enhance its profile rather than competing with it. So now let's get to the cocktail that you have in your hand. Thanks for your patience if you kept a little bit in your hand. Here's one if you want. So this is the Cherry Harvest, and what you're holding is an example of a session cocktail. Again, created with Pursuit Spirits Double Oaked Rye. And the rye in this cocktail is playing a supporting role in the cocktail. It's not in your face up front. It's the supporting role. So it provides structure, and it's sharing a spotlight with things like cherry juice, white grape juice, Amontillado sherry, vermouth, and aromatic bitters. So all of those things are in this cocktail. But those other ingredients are working along with the whiskey. And you're still getting great flavor, and I think you'll get some nuance of the whiskey in this cocktail. And this cocktail that you're drinking is a shade under 10% alcohol. It's like 9.66% alcohol. So there's still alcohol in this cocktail. I don't know the exact amount of sugar, but the juices that are used in this are no added sugar juices. They're 100% cherry juice, 100% grape juice. Then you have sherry and also vermouth in there, as well as bitters. So part of low ABV cocktails and creating these things, getting back to my point about the whiskey taking on a different role, is that it is sort of an art form. You have to think about your cocktail in a different way. They can still be exciting, and you can still have balanced flavors. In a traditional cocktail, the alcohol is usually typically carrying the drink. But the other ingredients in this cocktail specific are working in conjunction with that whiskey. And one of my favorite techniques for creating a cocktail like this at a lower proof is being intentional, one, about the whiskey that you choose. You've already made a choice. If you're going to make a lower proof cocktail, you've made an intentional choice to drink less alcohol. So the next step is to be intentional about the whiskey that you're choosing, and then choose something that you like from that whiskey and build the cocktail around it. So this particular whiskey has notes of cherries and some baked goods in it, and that's why I used cherry juice to amplify that cherry note and also play along with some tobacco notes in the whiskey. The Amontillado sherry is playing up some of those baked goods that are in the whiskey. Amontillado sherry is very nutty and kind of plays up some of those baked good notes. So a lot of this, again, is not about the strength of the cocktail. That's not what these are about. They're more about complexity and flavor and finding balance with all of the other components that are in the cocktail. So I think one of the most important and most powerful things about drinking less is that it allows us to enjoy moments like we are all enjoying here at this festival throughout this weekend without overindulging. We've all been to gatherings where we're having a great time, and by the third or fourth drink, things start to blur. We're not fully present anymore. Conversations start to fade, and we get lost in our buzz, right? So session cocktails can kind of change that dynamic. They let you enjoy the entire experience of the special occasion that you're at. And beyond that, this is about sustainability for yourself and I think for this industry. Again, there is a conversation that needs to be had right now within this industry about people who are coming up that are not drinking. So this is a way to draw in some of those people that are considering lower, drinking less. So in the end, again, this is all about balance. It's about creating an experience that lets you savor and enjoy your whiskey without tipping over the edge. And I think ultimately, mindful drinking and session cocktails are about reframing how we are all approaching alcohol. It's not about cutting it out of your life, but about learning to enjoy it in a thoughtful and sustainable way and still full of flavor. So the next time you pour yourself a drink, remember, it's not about drinking more, it's about drinking less and drinking better. So thank you guys for listening to me today, and cheers. Thank you. Thank you.